Level 1, the one who made it. You are the first one. Nobody behind you had anything. You built it. The yards, the routes, the ships, whatever it was. And now the number is so large it stops being a number. You are the richest man in America. You keep more cash than the United States Treasury does. You have something none of your descendants will ever have again. It's yours. Actually yours. You can sell any of it on a Tuesday because you feel like it. Nobody votes. Nobody's consent is required. There's no structure because you are the structure. You sign a will. You believe you are giving your children a gift. And that is the exact moment the clock starts. Because here's what happens to the fortune you just built. Within 50 years of your death, your name is off the list of the richest families in the country. Within 70, 120 of your descendants gather in one room, and reportedly not one of them is a millionaire. That's the Vanderbilts. That's the wealthiest family in American history, gone in 3 generations. Not to a crash, not to war, to their own children. You don't know that yet. You just signed a gift. Level 2, the inheritor. You didn't earn this, and everybody knows it, including you. The money arrives as money. Cash, shares, the house. No conditions, no committee. Your father wanted you free because he remembered what it was like to have nothing, and he swore his kids never would. So you're free, and the math starts. You have 3 siblings, so the pile splits 4 ways before you've spent $1. Then it splits again, next generation. The fortune doesn't need to be wasted to vanish. It just needs to be divided. And there's no mechanism stopping that because your father never built one. You're not stupid. You're just not him. He built the business. You were handed the finished thing. And no instructions, because he never talked about money at the table. That would have been vulgar. And anyway, there was always enough. Here's the number for this level. Of family businesses in America, about 30% make it to the 2nd generation. 70% don't. You will not feel the loss. You'll feel comfortable your entire life. The loss happens to your children. Level 3, the machine. You're in the 10% that didn't disappear, and you need to understand why. Because it isn't virtue and it isn't intelligence. Your grandfather watched a friend's family evaporate, so he did something the losers never did. He made the money impossible to spend. There's a trust now, set up in 1962, terms he wrote. Terms nobody alive can change. Real estate in 3 countries held inside an LLC. A stake in a company nobody's mentioned publicly since the 80s. And a family office. 9 people in an unmarked floor of a building. Who manage this? And who worked for your father before they worked for you. Read what that structure actually does. It doesn't protect the money from the market. It doesn't protect it from taxes, mostly. It protects the money from you, from your brother's business idea, from your cousin's divorce, from the exact freedom that killed every family in the 70%. Your grandfather didn't build a gift, he built a cage, and he put the money inside it, and that cage is the only reason there's anything left. 12% of family businesses reach the 3rd generation. You're standing inside the machine that makes the difference. It was never affection, it was engineering. Level 4, the beneficiary. You want to sell the house in Geneva. You call the attorney and he explains it slowly, the way you explain things to a child. The property sits in the trust. Selling triggers a tax event. It requires a vote of the family council. And there's a unanimous consent clause your great-grandmother insisted on in 1962, and 2 of the 7 people who'd have to agree are not speaking to each other. So, no. Sit with what just happened. You are worth more than nearly everyone alive, and you cannot sell your own house. You are not the owner. You are the beneficiary. You receive. You do not decide. The money that is yours is the least free money in this entire video. The founder at level 1 could sell anything by lunchtime. You need 7 signatures and a lawyer. And the psychology inverts. The self-made optimize for return. They've been to 0. 0 doesn't scare them. You optimize for not losing. Because for you, 0 isn't a reset. 0 is the generation that lost it. That's the family member nobody mentions anymore. The cousin who took a risk in the 90s, and now his name just doesn't come up at Christmas. Nobody explained the rule. You learned it by watching what happened to him. Level 5, the name. The family is no longer a family. It's an institution. There's a foundation with a director and a mission statement. Your name is on a hospital wing. You didn't put it there. You approved it in a meeting you don't remember. There's a commissioned history on the foundation's website describing how the first fortune was made, and it uses the phrase entrepreneurial vision to describe things that would not survive a modern audit. A journalist calls about one of those things. You don't speak to her. Legal and communications handle it and brief you afterward. You sign nothing, you knew nothing. That's the design. You're not managing wealth now, you're managing a story, and the story has a legal team. And here's the honest part, the part the fantasy leaves out. Look at what it cost to get here. Somebody at level 4 voted 5-2 to deny a cousin her own money. Somebody enforced a clause a dead woman wrote. Every family that flinched at that chose the human thing over the structural thing, is in the 90%. They're gone. You're here because someone in your bloodline was willing to be cold on a specific afternoon, and you know exactly which afternoon. You carry that. There's nowhere to put it. So here's what the fantasy gets wrong. You picture old money as a floor, solid, permanent, the thing you'd stand on if you ever climbed high enough. It isn't. It's the tiny handful of families that survived. 3% of family businesses reach a fourth generation. 93% of the grandchildren of the richest 1% are not in the 1% themselves. The dynasties you can name are the ones the wreckage doesn't cover. And the survivors survived by doing the least romantic thing imaginable. They took the money away from their own children. They built the trust, the council, the claws, the cage, because every family that handed their kids freedom instead is a name you've never heard, which means the two things everyone wants can't be held at once. The founder had total freedom and no permanence. The beneficiary has total permanence and no freedom. Nobody in this entire video got both, not one level. Somewhere tonight, someone is looking at a small number in a banking app and deciding they'll build something that lasts forever. They think the hard part is making it. It isn't. The hard part starts the day they try to give it away. Next time, the other side of the wall, your life at every level of debt, where the structures are just as engineered and nobody built them for you. If you want money videos that respect your intelligence instead of selling you a dream, subscribe and I'll see you there.